Mayoral Memo with Matho from Dubbo Regional Council. .5 Triple M. We're joined by the Mayor of Dubbo, Mr. Matthew Dickinson. How are you, sir?
I'm great, thanks, Matho. Thanks for having me on again. Great to be chatting to you and your listeners.
Yes, of course. Now, we've got the Dream Festival coming up. It's been I've seen it in the papers recently. What's happening?
Yeah, it's actually the launch of Dream again this year. It started way back in 2011, Dream, but we've had a few little interruptions over the last couple of years, a little pandemic that came along that meant that it couldn't be run. And then last year, when it was going to be back bigger and better than ever, we had a storm that came along, unbelievable winds, and the lantern parade that was going to go through the CBD got cancelled. So we haven't had Dream in its full glory for several years now, but hopefully this year, barring pandemics and mouse plagues and tsunamis and cyclones and everything else, it's going to go ahead. What we have done is we've brought it back a month. It used to be run in October, but some of the things like the Dream Lantern Parade, for example, the bit of feedback we got from parents was that it wasn't ideal because kids were getting home so late from that, and maybe they weren't behaving fantastically getting home so late because of daylight savings. So we brought it forward to September, so you'll have events starting in September. So far we've got 2 events announced: Zoo Acoustic out at the zoo, which is a lunchtime, daytime concert, open-air concert at the zoo, which is fantastic. And, of course, the Dream Lantern Parade. We'll add other events as time goes forward, but basically keep a few of those dates in September free for Dream.
Okay, tell us, what are the Young Archies?
We've got the full finalists exhibition of the 2022 Archibalds on at the Western Plains Cultural Centre starting from the 2nd of June, which is very exciting. And obviously that's Australia's premier art prize, $100,000 for first place with that. So that's great to see all of those. But when we do host that, it's something that started several years ago, where any place that's hosting the full Archibald finalist exhibition runs a small competition for kids. And when I say small competition, this was received, or the Dubbo version received 175 entries, 4 different age categories: 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 15 and 16 to 18. So that means you and I are just out of the running for this one, unfortunately.
So slightly.
That's right. But all of these exhibitions now from all of these young artists are on display at the Western Plains Cultural Centre in the lead up to the full Archibald finalist exhibition. We've announced those prize winners, these little stickers on the prize winner of each of those categories and the highly commended for each category. But I highly recommend go and have a look at those. I'm actually pretty impressed. Even the 5 to 8 category, some people said, that'll just be a few finger paintings, but it's not. They're actually pretty good. So even for those young artists, so I wouldn't be surprised out of all those 175 entries, Matho, if sometime in the next couple of decades, or some of those artists may actually be in the full Archibald exhibition, and who knows, may even be the winner of the $100,000 prize money. These young artists didn't win $100,000. They won $150 for each of those categories, not $100,000 though.
Now, tell us what's happening. What's the latest with the South Bridge?
So there's been some discussion over many years around another bridge needed for Dubbo. Now, of course, we've got the River Street Bridge, or the new Dubbo Bridge as it's been called. And in terms of traffic through to the CBD, that'll only remove about 1% of the traffic from the LH Ford Bridge. When we get to the year 2030, the estimations are that we'll have 30,000 vehicles per day on the LH Ford Bridge. Anyone that goes across there now at the, and I don't want to say peak hour because it's probably a peak 10 minutes, Matho, but at that peak time in the morning and peak time in the evening, knows it gets pretty congested on that LH Ford Bridge. So our plan, obviously, is to work out another crossing of the river, and that obvious one is down towards South Dubbo. And as you get that population growing over West Dubbo, Matho, out, say, Mayoral Road, those areas there's some of that traffic that needs to go up maybe to the school precinct down Sheraton Road. They might want to feed into South Dubbo. They might want to go into the CBD. The idea will be that there will be a road and a bridge that will link somewhere around Mayoral Road area-ish across the river there, and then link up somewhere maybe onto Macquarie Street, maybe Tamworth Street, maybe a bit further south, but basically doing some planning around that area there. Keep in mind that there's also the plan for the Southern Distributor Road. So as you go down Macquarie Street and then onto Hennessy Road, you can then, eventually, this will be the plan, there'll be a Southern Distributor that will link right around the outskirts of South Lakes and then feed you directly into Sheraton Road. So the planning is in place for that. We're starting to look at a few different options there. We'll refine those options a bit further. There was some discussion in the media a few years ago about it, but it seemed to go a bit quiet. We believe we've got to have that bridge up and running by the year 2030, so we're doing some of that planning now as we speak.
Certainly going ahead. A very popular town. Very popular mayor. Thank you very much for joining us today, and you have a great day.
My pleasure, Matho. Talk to you next fortnight.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.